Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in on a Tuesday evening live right here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. That's right, we're live on Facebook. I don't normally plug the Facebook page. It's over there, Dogs Daily. If you're a Facebook user, if you're on YouTube for some reason you found me, we have a Facebook page where we do all of our SI content. It's all like in one spot for you. So head on over there if you want to find it. But welcome in. Got MBR for you, Nothing But Rants. Again, the show where I find topics that I am oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. As you guys heard, these are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. Got a loaded show for you guys tonight. It is Tuesday, and it is exactly 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. 7 days. Not so good with my Spanish. 7 days until the start of spring practice at the University of Georgia, two-time defending national champs. You are, and I've been telling you, we've been loading up Monday, Tuesday, Thursday shows now for like 3 weeks. I think we're going on a month of doing 3 shows a week for you guys. Been telling you, hey, we're inching ever so closely to your football season being here. I mean, honest to God, the spring is here. Spring has sprung. Go outside. It was 80 degrees today. You're going to be smelling fresh cut grass here soon. You're going to have weeds in your backyard soon, which means very, very soon we're going to have football. Okay, foodie football. And we're going to have lots to talk about. There's going to be plenty of content, not only on this channel, but everywhere around the machine that is the Film Guy Network and Dogs Daily and all that good stuff. So a lot of Georgia football topics to talk about and a lot of spring topics to discuss tonight. We're going to kind of kick off your brain waves and kind of get those gears in motion, get those football gears in motion for what's coming down the pike a week from today, along with Pro Day. We're going to be in the house for Pro Day. Excited for that. Going to be bumping elbows with one Bill Belichick. You know, I'm like, what's up, man? I know you watch the network. I know you watch the films. Hey, the film breakdowns. What you think? How can I get better, coach? That kind of stuff. Excited to be there for that, but more excited about spring practice being here because maybe you guys will actually show up in droves like you should be, like you do during the fall. That February, man, I know it's mid-March now. It's first week of March is over now. But damn, if you guys don't take February off. I might just start taking February off every year, and me and the wife and the kiddos just going down to Costa Rica or something and don't come back for like a month. But nah, until then, we're going to be here. We're going to be here, and I hope you guys continue to be here. Hit that thumbs up button while you're here. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff on the channel. And we do got a great show for you tonight. We've been updated with some latest NFL mock drafts since the NFL Combine has kicked off. We're going to talk about just how far maybe Nolan Smith can jump up those boards. Todd McShay's draft or NFL mock draft had him relatively high today. So we're going to talk about that. And there's an interesting statistic I saw on him today from his NFL Combine kind of data metrics and where he kind of ranks in the percentiles for the edge position. I think that's kind of worth noting, and then kind of comparing that again to what we've seen on tape. Not to plug Patreon too much, but I think it's worth going back and watching some of that film that we watched last Friday or this past Friday over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit more tonight. And of course, Jaheim Singletary finally got, I guess, out of the portal. I don't think he can officially get out because he didn't get out during the first window. It's a mess. He's going to Arkansas whenever he plays football. He's going to be playing football at Arkansas. We'll talk about that and what that means. And we are like I said, we are 1 week away from spring practice, like I opened the show today with. So we're going to talk about the biggest questions that you guys have going into spring practice. And we're not going to talk Bobo. Had our graphics department, shouts out Jay Griff and the team, had the graphics department send some graphics over today with Bobo on the cover. We have beat Bobo to death as a topic on this channel. We're turning the page. Today's discussion is going to be strictly about personnel and kind of what questions are left on the roster, not necessarily what questions there are to be had about schematical changes or implementations or losses with Monken out and Bobo in. A side note, Real informal show tonight. It's going to be one camera. I told you things are going to look and feel different, probably for the foreseeable future. But it's for good. I've told you every offseason is an up to something season around here, and we are always up to something. This offseason, we're up to something. We're up to something big. So I don't want to oversell it, but we're gonna it's gonna be long and gradual. Hope you guys stay down with us. Tonight's kind of be down with us. One camera, no cool switching, none of that stuff, and we're just gonna hang out. Gonna be some random thoughts with your boy up in here. Let's talk Nolan Smith. 17th percentile in arm length at the edge position, 15th in height, 15th percentile that is. So that's on the very, very bottom end. 5th percentile in hand size, 2nd percentile in weight. I mean, he can't get no lighter to play the edge position than what he weighed in at the combine. So how do you overcome all of that and remain a first-round draft pick despite being, obviously being an incredible in-person eval and a character eval, all those checks and pluses and all that good stuff? How do you overcome that, remain a first-round draft pick like he's being slotted? Like we're going to talk about here in a second, 8th overall to the Atlanta Falcons in the latest ESPN mock draft. How do you do that, right? How do you overcome that? Well, 99th percentile in the 10-yard split on your 40, right? You go absolutely, as the comments right here from Marion Campbell say, you go absolutely nuclear at the NFL Combine. You test out of this world. You go 98th percentile in your vertical, 95th percentile in your broad, 99th percentile in your 40, right? You do all of those metrics of explosion. That's what you do. But I got to talking about this again because it's still, I went back to watch the tape. I tweeted about this, and I cannot express this enough. Every single time, the Combine's great. It's really great for NFL, decision makers, coaches, general managers, scouts, owners, all those people. I don't know if owners are necessarily involved with the NFL Combine. Nonetheless, it's a great place for all those people to truly get to know who they are, from who are they about to invest in from a personal standpoint. Get to know the man across from you, that kind of stuff. What are the Underwear Olympics for as an evaluator? What their confirmation or reassessments. We've said this forever. You go to these types of events, you have some type of preconceived notion off of what you have evaluated off of tape or what you have already gone into with a an in-person evaluation. A lot of these teams, like, they send scouts year-round to all of these places, particularly like Georgia. There's scouts at every single football game. There's scouts at almost every single padded practice during the year, right? These scouts have a very good idea about who these players are as football players far before they get out there in the Underwear Olympics. So what do you necessarily learn about a player like Nolan Smith, who has 4 years of tape, none of which display 4.39 40s? It's hard. It's really, really hard. Like, I can turn on tape of Nolan turning and running and catching Bryce Young like they showed on the NFL Combine the other night. I can find clips against Florida of him turning and running with the wheel route down the sideline. I can do all these things. I can find that. I can find Nolan Smith running down on kickoff and tracking at like 21 damn near miles per hour on GPS. We can find all of those things. Those are tangible, quantifiable, here it is on the tape stuff about Mr. 439. But where's the 439 get off and twitch? Where's the 1.62 10-yard split in the pass rush plan? Not there. Not there at all. So if you are a program or a team like the Atlanta Falcons, and you do draft Nolan Smith at 8 overall, because now he's tested well enough for you to do that, what you have to understand is that, hey, this isn't a guy that's going to walk off the street and be a 10-sack guy. In fact, this is a guy that should walk off the street, walk onto your roster, be a great leader, and be an excellent, first and second down player primarily. Like, he is going to, impact your run game or your ability to stop the run. That I see all kinds of 4.39 tape on. But you're going to be labeled some twitchy edge rusher. You're going to be labeled Hassan Reddick or whoever it is that they mock you or comp you to, Nolan Smith, and that is not who you are going to be your first, second, third year in the NFL. I do believe down the road, Nolan Smith develops pass rush plans and figures out how to actually use his God-given talents to be a premier sack artist. But right now, it is not there. Right now, it is, damn, that guy finds the football on first and second down, and damn, he's always in the right place. But on third down, we're not quite figuring that out, right? But nonetheless, you test like that, and it's going to tell people that you have the ability to do so. But it's always interesting for me. Every year around the combine time, we find out more and more about players from a underwear Olympics standpoint, right? Where it's like it makes you go back. It makes you look and say, hey, like I thought this of this player when I evaluated him on tape, when I saw him in person play football. He went out and tested at this rate. Why is there a disconnect here? With Bobby Beal, I told y'all last night, I know what it is. It's a lack of playing time. With Nolan, don't quite know what the disconnect is, but you take that supreme athlete and you just probably let him play in space. I have always thought that at 6'2 and a quarter, you trim him down instead of trying to make him heavy. Instead of making him roll around at 237, you let him play at like 230 and just let him play stand-up inside backer. Hips are a little too tight, so I've been told. So that's not an option. So you're going to have to find some type of scheme that is still running a traditional 3-4 where there is a real outside backer that's playing in space and rushing from space. Good news is there's a lot of NFL teams that are running more of that than necessarily like the 4-2-5 nickel that Georgia's running. Huge macro discussion, all because I saw one fun tweet about his little spider web chart comparing his height and length to his speed metrics. Height, weight, and length versus the speed metrics here. There is no more hot and colds when it comes to a scouting eval. They don't get more drastic than this. We're talking 99th percentile and 2 percentile. Like, they are so diametrically opposed with regards to what kind of athlete you are acquiring if you were to draft Nolan Smith. Going to try to keep it a tight 30, but I don't. That's never going to happen here on this channel. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this. I go into shows with sometimes 3, 4, 5 pages of notes, and it is a spray chart, an absolute spray chart as to how fast and long it's going to take any of these shows. I'm just glad you guys somewhat enjoy them. Metrics would say you do. The path would say that you guys do, and that's always great. Show that support a little bit more by hitting that thumbs up button. Let's get on to our next segment, which is this Jaheim Singletary news. It's interesting. When Jaheim Singletary came out of high school, bona fide 5-star. I think on our signing day special that year, we said defensive back-wise, he has tape like reminiscent of Travis Hunter. Don't go clipping me yet. Let me explain now. When Travis Hunter, to this day, I think is a receiver. I think he's going to play in the NFL as a receiver. I do not think he's a corner. Let me ask you this. How many knee-knocked cornerbacks have you seen in the NFL? End of story. End of story. I can show you a litany of knee-knocked receivers that are elite. Doesn't matter for them for some reason. But with a responsive technique like defensive backs, his best trait is finding the football in the air. That's what he's great at. Jaheim had some similar ball skills on tape and even crazier length, like 6'1.5", like super long guy, super linear. They called him slim, right? Only 165 pounds. The eval said that dude, elite, going to be great. I think he was a top 5 corner and a top 30 overall player. By all metrics, 5-star football player. Recruited by Ohio State, committed to Ohio State, decommitted from Ohio State. It became a Miami, Florida, Georgia, Ohio State battle, like a 4-way quartet of who's going to get this 5-star football player. That was like 8 months ago, guys. A year ago, maybe, tops. Now here we are. That dude was in the portal for like 48 days, guys. The dude was in the portal for like 2.5 months, bro. Why? And he ends up at Arkansas. A 5-star that was recruited heavily by Georgia, Ohio State, Florida, and Miami. Hits the portal after 6 months at Georgia. Arkansas. I know a lot of people in our circles in Discord were scratching their head going, hey, yesterday we're asking questions, where's he at? We gave him the true answer. Today we're going to kind of give you the pillowed answer. And then today the news pops Arkansas. What the heck? Scratching heads. How does that happen? I'm not necessarily miss, but there are requirements general requirements to play at the University of Georgia. Okay. And one of which primarily is a work ethic and a want to get better every single day. And I'm not going to make no bones about it. There wasn't a lot of that, right? Wasn't a lot of that during his time at Georgia. And Georgia will do absolutely anything for any football player that wants to leave their program. From any player I've ever talked to, any player's parent that's ever left the program, anybody that has ever been associated with Kirby Smart and the way he runs his organization, you will be helped out if you want to leave his program. But what he will not do and what nobody on his program will do is lie for you. They're just going to be honest. So whatever your impressions are, whatever impressions you leave, that's the impressions that will be left. Okay, so when you leave or when you want to leave, just an honest appraisal about what your efforts were while you were on campus. Okay, and that resulted after about 8, 9, 10 months of sitting in the portal for about 50 days and the phone not ringing like you probably thought it would. Okay, and we talked about this the other day in Discord. I don't know what the true number is right now, but the number with regards to X amount of players enter the portal, Y amounts of players exit the portal, find a home, the delta, in other words, the difference between the two would blow your mind. I think it's about 30%, maybe more than that. It is an astronomical amount of really good football players that leave Division I programs, think that shit's sweet, hit the portal, ain't got a home for you, brother. We got nowhere for you. The school that was recruiting you out of high school that said, sure, hit the portal. We might give you a call. All 6 of them, we might give you a calls, turned into nobody gave you a call. Now you're making phone calls. Coach, y'all got a spot? Coach, y'all got a spot? Coach, y'all got a spot? Next thing you know, Arkansas. It's tough, man. It's hard out here. It's why sometimes it's important to just take your licks, right? I think, we'll find out and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But I think it's such a rarity in college football where you have a guy like Nyland Green who's, just can't seem to edge out anybody quite yet in that cornerback room at Georgia and just keeps his nose down and sticks around. And I promise you right now, if Nyland Green ever hits the portal, that dude will play at a major school. He will play at a really, really competitive championship caliber program. I bet, because he will get a really, really quality reference. Because at worst case scenario, Ohio State, Tennessee, Clemson, these programs that recruited Nyland out of high school, worst case scenario, you're going to get a bullet on special teams and a great football player and a great attitude. So was I shocked today by the Singletary news? No. In terms of, him going to, I'm not here to crap on Arkansas, but Latavius Bernee went to Arkansas last year. Latavius Bernee, friend of the network here. Latavius Bernee and Jaheim Singletary are 2 totally different high-profile recruits. Am I right or am I right? All right, we had 3.5 years worth of tape of Latavius Bernee and background checks of him at the University of Georgia to know that he was JAG from an SEC defensive back standpoint, just another guy. Okay, we had 6 months of data behind closed doors at the University of Georgia to know that wasn't nobody taking a stab at the number 27 overall consensus football player in America a year ago. That's a little bit baffling to me. And I think it should be, I'm not going to say he is there to be a lesson learned, but he is there to be a lesson learned. I think it's okay, though. Not okay for Georgia. Think about it, though. How fortunate you are that this is a corner that you, inarguably missed on. You missed. And we're going to get to a defensive back discussion later and a cornerback discussion later that it's got too many bodies in it right now. You're going to have guys hitting the portal in the spring. It's just it's undoubtable. It's irrefutable that you will probably have defensive backs hit the transfer portal after the spring. You just have too many good ones. You have way too many guys on your roster that could play on other rosters. And nowadays, those guys are going to get phone calls and NIL deals. So I'm just forewarning you, one of these segments we have later is who's hitting the portal. And we ain't going to cast no names, but we're just going to tell you it's going to be active. It's going to be active. You have way too many bodies, way too many really, really good football players to expect that not to happen. Yeah. How about that? What else we got? Nothing there. Nothing there on that one. Yeah, I think the Jaheim Singletary stuff is he going to end up going to Arkansas, and if he gets on the field and plays well, or competes and wins a job, he's going to play well. He's relatively talented. Obviously, he didn't suddenly forget how to play football. He just might have taken like 8 months off from training at this point. Okay, let's get into it. Got a lot of questions. Whoa, got a lot of questions. It's I know what my random thought was earlier. I blew right past it. I don't know if y'all noticed. Random thought. It is spring. Spring done sprung. I said earlier. Boys and girls, do not, I repeat, do not go out there and mow that lawn without something over your face. Okay? Because that pollen, I don't care how bad you are, that pollen gonna get your ass. All right. It's got me. It's got a hold of me. That's what happened with the crack right there. That's what gave me the recognizance to come back here and remind you of this pollen. Don't be out there mowing that grass without some over your face. All right, all y'all. Yeah, man. That pollen is real. Pollen is something. My dumb butt just thought, like allergies. Nah, I don't got allergies. I got shots a couple years ago, and nothing popped up on me. They gave me the little pricker pricks all down my arms, Doc. They gave me all of them. I ain't got no allergies. I'm good, bro. And then every year, just face just swell up like a tick and just be like, what's going on? The pollen done pollen into your ass right now, bro. Yeah, every year, just getting smacked in the face. And not until I was like 24, 25, 26. I think I've shared this with you guys on this network before. Just ignorance, walking around life with none of that stuff that some people call common with the sensical department. It just don't happen for me. So sometimes we just walk around life just dumb. Just dumb. Another one for you. You ever spread pine straw out? You ever put pine straw all over your yard? You ever notice how it's like real puffy? And like sometimes like my dumbass, I wanted to like hit it with a rake and just like pat it down, right? It gets like super big and there's a bunch of air in it and you like want to pat it down and compact it, right? But it's pine straw. Don't really do that. Just wet it. Just spray it down. Spray it down with a water hose. Thanks. I don't know. Life skills. Didn't know. I shouldn't admit this as a man on a YouTube channel with a lot of people here. But we're here. We're family. First lawnmower ever owned. Every lawnmower I ever used growing up was my dad's. They were all 2-stroke engines, all of them. So you had to mix the gas, right? You had to, take out and put the oil in them and mix the gas, put them in there because they did not have oil themselves. So you had to mix gas. So now, apparently, all lawnmowers are 4-stroke. Apparently, all lawnmowers come with oil on one side, gas on the other. You don't have to mix gas. So I'm like, what? Okay, that's great. Didn't know this. This is awesome. Great news. I ran my damn lawnmower for a year with mixed gas. Some bitch puttering all over the place, dying out on me. I'm like, what the hell? I got a neighbor. Lawn looked like freaking Turner Field out there. Looked like the damn Ted in the front yard. He got that lawnmower with the blades on the front. That one. He got them automatic sprinklers. All in the yard, right? This dude is a professional lawn keeper. I bring him over. I say, hey, man, can't figure out the lawnmower. Just spewing oil everywhere. Just spewing oil everywhere. He looks at me and goes, well, did you put mixed gas in it? Yeah, I put mixed gas in it. Anyways, I'm dumb sometimes, and it's okay. One of the dumb things is going out cutting the grass without something on your face when the pollen hit. So put something on your face. We're not out of coffee yet. That's good news. I bet people think I am just absolutely insane for just bodying coffee. That was a double shot espresso tonight. Just bodying coffee at like 9:10, 9:20, 9:30. Just getting after it. Speaking of getting after it, biggest questions for the spring. Let's get after it. Hit that thumbs up button, man. We're having a good one tonight. All right, here we go. Let's start with the offense. I know y'all want me to talk quarterbacks. We're going to save it for last. Who's going to play tackle? who's going to play tackle? And I think it's a really, really easy answer. And it's great that you hit on this football player, because if you didn't, I don't know what in the hell you'd be doing. You'd probably be starting Austin Blaschke at tackle, which is not a problem. But if you didn't hit on Ernest Green in 2022, you would not have a second tackle right now. You know, Amarius Mims is going to be one. He's going to play like a NFL offensive tackle. You're going to be fine on that side. Ernest Green, we just know from good positive reports from the first 8 weeks that he was healthy before he had a back issue that we're going to give you an update on here in a second. He was an SEC caliber football player. I mean, so much so that all it took was a handful of practices, and they were like, nope, we got one there, coach. He's going to be really, really good, Brooks. Don't worry about him. Check him off. He's going to play tackle for us next year. Like, okay. And then the back problems happening, right? And I don't quite have I don't read the guy's medical chart. I don't ask for this type of stuff. I just know it was a back issue, and I know he's going to be fully healthy. So that's what we're reporting here on this channel. He will be a full go this spring. And if if he's out of practice because his back's sore, whatever, that might be the case. They will, conditionalize him based off of how he feels day to day, but he is good to go this spring. First year reported on the channel. I don't know. I don't read everybody else. So maybe somebody else is talking about it, but we're talking about it right here. Ernest Green is going to be healthy and good to go. So you're good there. There's your first question. Who's going to be playing tackles? You already got it figured out. I do think Austin Blaschke is a highly competitive football player, though, guys. He is one of these guys that I think could start somewhere else, obviously, but could play on Sundays without ever having really played on Saturdays. That's going to sound crazy, but someone's going to get Austin Blaschke into a camp and realize he is competent. He can block NFL football players at like a 55% clip at right tackle, right guard, center, left guard, and left tackle. That is invaluable for a 53-man roster. It is not so precedent. It's not so urgent that you have such a thing when you have 105 guys on your roster, 85 of them are scholarship football players. It's not that big of a deal when you got Micah Morris and Dylan Fairchild sitting on the bench and they ain't played in 2 years since their 5-star asses were signed. Okay, it's a little bit different at Georgia. But when you get to the NFL and a left tackle goes down, and then the next week a right guard goes down, and now all of a sudden you don't have anybody that can ever snap for your football team, and you're out of center, you're shit out of luck if you don't have a 5-way swing player. That's what Blaschke is. This spring is going to be very, very important to see what they do with him. Because I promise you right now, if I know about Austin Blaschke and I know that he's still playing highly competent football, okay, I'm not the only one that is knowledgeable of that information. Now, again, not breaking news here. This is just how the game works. If you are a high-quality backup, people know about your butt. They know about your ass right now. All right, so just know that and remember that. So whoever wins that tackle spot, whoever walks away with that tackle spot, it will have repercussions. It will 100% have repercussions. I'm not saying he's going to hit the portal. I'm just saying that, hey, he's going to get more phone calls if they know he didn't win a job this weekend or this spring. I wrote love it or hate it. I hate that topic. I hate that pun. Dominic Lovett is going to be an interesting insertion into this offense. If you don't know what he's about, if you just know that they signed the 800-yard receiver from Missouri and you think he's some outside the numbers receiver, or you think he's something like that, you're wrong. He is Ladd McConkey. Okay, I was going to say some people would think he's a more twitchy and refined. He's not. He is not as twitchy as Ladd. Okay, he does different things. He's a more refined route runner than Ladd. But of the two, Z receivers / should be playing in the slot in the NFL type receivers, they are relatively identical. So I'm really questionative of like how are you going to play both Dominic Lovett and Ladd McConkey this coming up year at whatever you constitute the Z? Because I know what you're going to do with Arian Smith in the slot. You're just going to run him vertical. We get that. Okay. But what do you do with those two guys who, again, they don't have identical skill sets, but they do similar stuff, right? At the same type of position. One in Lovett, I think, is going to be more of your double move guy, more of your get open on third down if we need you on the front side or the back side by yourself. kind of a guy. Whereas Ladd's going to be our shots guy, our play actions guy, our deep overs, get the ball in his hands, let him run guy. All of those, rules and titles and responsibilities, and those how you delegate the talents is very, very important, particularly at the wide receiver position. I think it's been a while since Georgia's had this debate of, hey, what do we do with this overwhelming abundance of talent at the receiver position? You got two NFL players at the the Z receiver position. How you allocate that is going to be very, very interesting. I think what's going to happen is ultimately you play them both at the same time. You're going to have, what we call 11 personnel formations where Brock Bowers is on the field, as is Ladd McConkey, Dominic Lovett, and whoever wins the X position, which brings us to our next point. It's great that Rod Thomas was acquitted of all of his charges and all that stuff. But we told you a couple weeks back, he's been practicing with the team and working out with the team the entire time. And by now, if he were just walking away with the X position, you would have heard about it. I would have been here telling you something. One of these other jokers that you all listen to that thinks their opinion is more valuable, just like I do, than everybody else. Somebody would have came out here and told you that Rod Thomas was out here just working folks. It's not quite the case. So what does that mean? That means the X position is still kind of open. It's kind of just out there. All right. It's kind of out there for guys like Marcus Rosemy-Jack Saint to figure out. Guys like Tyler Williams to figure out. Guys like Dylan Bell to figure out. All right. Who I think is also more of a Z than an X. All these bigger, taller, longer, lankier guys, they still got to figure out who's going to win that job. Or else you just result into being kind of a Brock Bowers-oriented offense, which brings us to our next question. What the 12? What are you doing in 12 this year? You going to stay in 12? I went back, was preparing for some stuff we got coming up on Patreon, most likely, depending on whether or not the guest comes through. It's a sketchy one. Sketchy in the sense that it's like it is like trying to nail the pin the tail on the donkey. Is that the game where you blindfold, spin around, and then they got Eeyore? Yeah. It's like that with this guest. But if he's on, it's going to be incredible. But I was preparing for it, and I was watching, and I saw in the Ohio State game that Monken designed up a winner. A winner for Oscar Delp. He didn't win. Ohio State shut it down. But the fact that they got into 12, even with Darnell, I think he got hurt in the first half of that football game, even with Darnell out and Oscar in, him having to figure it out, they were still, in 12 personnel and taking shots. It was actually the play that the Kansas City Chiefs ran in the Super Bowl where Travis Kelce runs up like he's running a deep over, stops, and then runs directly out with the quarterback rolling to his left, rolling to his right, essentially, and then throwing across his body. Nonetheless, they designed shots for Oscar in that football game. I went back and watched it. So it led me to believe that you're probably still going to do some of it. It's just like we've told you on this channel, it's going to be different. It's going to look different. The question to me is it's no longer how do we cover Bowers and dedicate enough bodies in the box to stop the run with what Darnell can do blocking wise. Now the question is, how do we cover both of those football players? How do we still dedicate enough bodies to the box to stop the run and keep a linebacker on Oscar Delp and keep what is going to have to be a safety or a nickel on Brock Bowers? Because that is the decision that you have always forced teams to make with Bowers. Since he has gotten onto your football team, you have forced teams to decide, hey, are you going to play a linebacker or a safety on him? Now, a safety or a nickel on him. And if you dare to put a linebacker on him, good luck. Now, you basically have two of those, and you're going to put the linebacker on Delp, right? So how do they take advantage of that type of aspects offensively? That's the question from the 12 personnel standpoint offensively. And, we talked about earlier, who are the transfers and where do they come from? And I know that makes you want to think about the quarterback position. I find it hard to believe in 15 practices that anybody's going to surmount or pass Carson Beck as the leader in the clubhouse to be the starter September. I just don't know. It's hard for me to believe that somehow in the next 15 practices, you're going to kind of flip the script on what has kind of been written for at least 12 months since Stockton's been there. Stockton has kind of inserted his way and made some serious impressions on whether or not he's going to be a Georgia quarterback and start at the University of Georgia, or even be high enough caliber to play in the SEC, which I think all three of these guys are. They have skill sets and temperaments and abilities neck up to play in the SEC. You have an extremely talented quarterback room. History will tell you someone's leaving this spring. But I have been the guy on this network and from the jump with this particular discussion, with these three particular quarterbacks. I'm big into body language. I'm big into eye contact. I'm big into vibes. I've never not once gotten the vibe that Brock Vandagriff does not like his standing and where he's at. I've never not once gotten the vibe that he didn't want to stick it out and try to be a starting quarterback at the University of Georgia. Gunnar Stockton Gunnar Stockton smiles his way through a damn thunderstorm every single day. Not that he walks around with thunderstorms, but that's just his face and his temperament. He's always mouth closed, smile. Gunnar Stockton, that's just who he is. So whatever happens this spring, does it automatically mean someone's in the portal in May? I don't know. History will tell you, especially now with the transfer portal windows, probably I don't think it's going to open back up until December. So you have 2 times. That's it. So if you don't get in May, you got to rock out a whole year. But here's what I will tell you about Vandagriff. Vandagriff graduates from the University of Georgia in December. He entered Georgia with way more credits than half of you jokers get in the first 2 years of your college careers because you're too busy messing around. He was taking so many AP classes that I'm pretty sure he basically walked into college as a sophomore. So he's going to graduate tremendously early from the University of Georgia with his undergraduate degree. Maybe he doesn't even need to use the one-time transfer. Maybe he graduate transfers and saves his one time. If that's what happens, right? But what that would mean is he's going to ride out and chase another national title with your football team. So what's it matter? Why have this discussion now? Why stress yourself out over this now? When odds are that even if Carson Beck wins the job this spring and continues to do what we think he's going to do on this network, right? And maybe Brock Vandagriff gives him a run for his money, makes it tight and competitive or whatever. And at the end of the spring, Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart sit everyone down and say, Carson's still our guy going into the fall. Make your decisions thusly. Well, the decision is probably going to be, Coach, I'm like 8 credit hours this fall from having my degree from the University of Georgia. So we're good. We'll see you this fall. That's something y'all got to remember. So, and the other thing you got to remember is don't be throwing kids to the portal. Let's talk defensively. There's a lot more questions. Not a lot more questions. There are a lot of questions defensively for Georgia, starting primarily with the jack position. And, you know, Robert Beal did a serviceable job towards the end of last year, playing that position and doing a decent enough job for y'all to win a second national title. But it wasn't like a game-changing insertion from 33 right there, right? The 3.5 sacks from Nolan Smith in like 6 games. I think he played 8 games this year, something like that. Yeah, like a half a sack a game. Y'all haven't had a true transcendent jack since Azeez Ojulari, right? A guy that you're like a 3rd and 8, hey, 13 fitting to get after it, right? 13's about to whoop this left tackle's ass. Y'all watch this. Okay, that ain't really happened in a minute. And defensively, you haven't called the game like that in a minute. Y'all have not designed winners for edge rushers since Adam Anderson did his thing, or was, I don't even know what the process is there. Since Adam Anderson, hard stop. Who's going to play Jack in 2023 for the University of Georgia? Chaz Chambliss obviously goes into the spring, kind of the leader in the clubhouse there. Got the experience belt. And y'all know the deal. Kirby Smart in that experience belt is very, very important. You got Marvin Jones Jr., Darius Smith, Damon Wilson, a bunch of names. All who, by the way, do very different things. Damon Wilson, much more of a twitchy speed rusher, going to be able to capture edges really, really quickly as a freshman, but not going to be able to hold the point in the run game, strictly a third down football player. Darius Smith, going to be a spy package type guy, real long, lanky, can really go get it from a perspective of running guys down. Going to be a guy on third and long in that rabbit package that you put in the middle of the field. He is there to spy the quarterback. Marvin Jones Jr., from the moment I saw him out at San Antonio, thought he had an extremely high ceiling to be a top end edge rusher. Just needed some refinement and needed to kind of play with a motor, play all the time, play hard all the time, learn how to play hard. And I think that this spring is going to be big for him. Okay, how you establish yourself, how you go about competing in this job might teach you something about yourself in an actual football game on Saturdays. I thought this year when I saw him on tape, looked like a guy who was playing slow. This spring is going to be very, very important for him to try to figure out what's going on the football field, figure out the system, be comfortable in the system, and come this fall, play extremely fast and play confident in your assignments. So that's important there at the jack position. And I think it might not be the most important question this spring, and it might not ever have an answer. And based off the way they're recruiting moving forward, I don't know if they have an answer. But what are you going to do with Xavier Sorey? What are you going to do with Jalen Walker? Very, very interested to see. Last year, Jalen Walker got on the field because he could stand up and rush. He basically subbed in at the jack position on third and long. Kentucky, he played it almost every. I'm not going to say almost every down. He was playing outside linebacker for Georgia against Kentucky for a majority of that football game. If you go back and watch, 11 is standing up on the edge into the line of scrimmage. But what are you going to do with these hybrid linebackers that you don't know if are box linebackers and if you don't know are stand-up rushers? What are you going to do with these individuals? Are you just going to play them on third down? And if that's the case, how do you play them both? How do you get Xavier Sorey onto the field? For the love of God, the guy is so explosive. What are y'all doing this spring with that? With 18? How? Where? When? You know what I'm saying? Raylan Wilson, what are you doing? What are you doing with that? I know what you're doing with C.J. Allen. I know what you're doing with Jamon Dumas-Johnson. I know what you're doing with Smile Mondon. You're turning them into Sunday Mike linebackers. You're turning them into the next second-round pick who plays 12 years in the league at linebacker. I know what you're doing there. What you doing with Xavier Sorey? What you doing with Jalen Walker? We got to figure that out. Got to figure that out. Raylan Wilson, too. Don't know what you're doing there. Just too unique of a football player to just stand him in the box. And I don't think they've figured it out. But if there is a mind in the world of football that can figure out what to do with a human being at the linebacker position that don't really have a spot, by God, it's Glenn Schumann. I think what it would require for them to figure out a spot for Xavier Sorey or even, play him on a down-in, down-out basis be to play a lot more zone. But they don't want to do that. They're a too-high man football team. They want to put 6 in the box. They want to stop the run with 6 and play the pass with 5. That's what they want to do. So until that changes, I don't know what. I guess you recruit guys like Sorey and you hope that they can transition to a Mike or a Willie and stand in the box and read back or read down linemen and fill holes and do all that good stuff. Sometimes it just don't pan out. Starks and who is the next question at safety. And I was asking some folks today, you got a lot of names. You got a lot of names and a lot of questions here at that other safety position. Again, Malachi Starks is going to be one of them. Dan Jackson this spring is going to be limited. He's not going to be a full participant. It's going to be probably in a non-contact jersey. Again, you get some special reporting here tonight when we actually start talking football again. Tyke Smith is going to rep at safety. He has been repping at safety this spring. Jonel Aguero will be repping at safety. Justin Rhett is a name you need to be paying attention to this spring. Listed as a corner, coming out of high school, out of Nevada, out there at Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. And it's funny because, you don't see a lot of tape. I think he has 90 seconds worth of highlights from his junior year. Not a ton of tape on the kid. But by God, you see photos of this son gun, he is thick as shit. And you knew from jump was not staying at corner. He's moving back to safety, and all reports are much better football player than even we thought, was the quote I got today. So Justin Rhett, better than we thought, guy. Just already, before they even put the pads on, the guy's turning some heads. So there you go. So you got a bunch of safeties basically competing for one spot. And I don't know who is going to kind of dominate that. I don't know who's going to take over that position. I would think David Daniel and Tyke Smith kind of have a firm hold on it at the beginning. And then from there, you see talent and performance take over. Bunch of stars, a bunch of safeties and a bunch of stars. Long story short, you got a really, really solid defensive back core and a bunch of really talented football players. The star position, you know who's going to start, and you know who's going to be a highly impactful football player on your defense this year. It's Javon Ballard at that star position. You know Tyke Smith's going to rep it there. The sources told me today a new name kind of getting some reps at the star position. Jonel Aguero probably going to get some run at star this spring. And Smoke Bowie, the transfer from Texas A&M, he did have his knee scoped. I could not believe Texas A&M didn't scope that knee last year. This was a guy in high school that had an ACL tear that everybody knew about. That was really, really bad. The cleanup operation needed to be done. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. If I knew on the recruiting circuit, I don't know how in the hell Jimbo Fisher and his staff did not know. It's just a lot. I don't even know. Lack of communication, lack of professionalism. I don't know what you say. If I, a recruiting analyst in Atlanta, Georgia, knew for a fact that Deon Bowie needed a knee cleanup in August of last year, why in the hell wasn't it done? Why wasn't it done? Why'd y'all let him walk around in pain for 8 months on his damn knee? Be careful where you send your kids, folks. That's all I'm gonna say. Be diligent. Don't be overbearing, but just be diligent. Say, hey, son, you've been talking about on phone calls for like the last 8 months about your knee hurting. Maybe we need to go get that thing figured out. Maybe we need to go get that thing scoped. Maybe we need to go take that to someone who's, going to be taken care of. Be diligent. Be diligent about your body. Nonetheless, there are a bunch of really solid options at the star position. Another question. How great can 2-10 be this year, right? Last year, you're going to get Jamon Dumas-Johnson and Smile Mondon. I think both. I think Smile's going to be a higher drafted football player than Jamon Dumas-Johnson. Testing for Smile is going to be out of this world. He was like an 11-2, 110 hurdle guy in high school. Stupid hurdles, track, speed stuff. Explosive metrics are going to be off the charts. So he's going to draft really, really high. Both of them are 3-and-done football players. You're not going to get a fourth year out of either. I don't believe. Jamon's tape is going to outweigh his lack of testing. I don't think Jamon's a high freakazoid tester. I think he's a move first type football player. We've told you that here before. But how great can those two football players be? How well can they continue to work together? How much input can they have on how this defense operates on Saturdays? But most importantly for this spring, how healthy can you keep them? Period. Point blank. If they set the spring out, that's fine. Let them young guys figure it out. Let CJ Allen get as many reps as he needs this spring. Let him grow up. Not that he needs to grow up, but let him just catch up with the speed and be ready to go this fall. Let Raylan Wilson do the same thing. Let Troy Bowles do the same thing. Let all those young backers figure out what the speed of the college football looks like. And you let 2-10 sit on their hands this spring, by God, if that's what they want to do. Because, yeah. Them boys gonna play some football this fall. I don't think there is anything I'm more excited for this fall than watching those two monsters on tape. Just how quick they see it, how fast they go run it down. I guarantee you, though, watching those two football players is like watching Pat Willis and Navarro Bowman back in the day, where those two were racing to the football every single time. Reuben Foster and McClain at Alabama back in the day. Watching those two practice, I bet we're insane. Watching these two guys go at it is, and be competitive about their excellence is going to be really, really fun this fall. I don't know how much we get to see it during the spring, but it's still a question I have. How great can they truly be? What's a senior year for Nazir Stackhouse look like? I talked to somebody in the building today that I really, really trust that told me they think Nazir Stackhouse is a first-round draft pick. They think he's that great. That's what the building thinks about 78. I thought he had a tremendous football season this year. I thought he got much, much better. I think he's a really, really quiet individual on the football field. He just does things, and you don't see it until you look at it on tape. All you hear in the booth, or all you hear in the box, and all you hear in the stadium is number 78, Nazir Stackhouse on the tackle, and it never, not once, looks like boom, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like over the years, you've had the booms and the wows. Jalen Carter was nothing but boom and wow. Jordan Davis was nothing but boom and wow. Devontae Wyatt, nothing but boom and wow. Nazir Stackhouse is 100% chicken and rice. My boy just gets the job done. That's it. Just in his gap, doing his thing, and moving on. That guy plays football. I'm extremely excited to see what he looks like this spring, which brings us to our next discussion, right? If we know for a fact, and it's fact, Mykel Williams is about to get like 85 to 90% of the reps at defensive end this fall. We all agree, right? 13's your best football player up front this year. We all agree with that, okay? Everybody's nodding their head at home. Yep. All right, so if he's got defensive end locked up, and we just talked about Nazir Stackhouse basically locking up the nose tackle position, okay? I don't leave a lot of playing time for these names I'm about to read off right here who have a massive, massive spring. These 7 names that I'm about to rattle off, you could add an 8th. It don't get no bigger. It does not get any bigger than for these individuals right here, because they are fighting. They are fighting for the dog food that is left via playing time at that defensive tackle position. Who is going to eat at 3 Tech this year? Bear Alexander, Warren Brinson, Zion Lowe, Christian Miller, Sean Washington, Jordan Hall. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins a little bit. We can throw you in there. What does your spring practice look like, gentlemen? It gets no bigger. No bigger. There is not a bigger battle on this roster than these big boys right here. And from all signs and indications, Bear Alexander and Warren Brinson kind of have like a corner office in the building that is the defensive tackle room. And the rest of these boys kind of fighting for what's left. That's what the kind of vibe is entering spring practice. So Christian Miller, my guy coming out of high school, massive, massive spring. Huge. Like, we're going to figure out whether or not we have to like find other places to go type springs for some of these guys. The writing will be on the wall. That is like, and it's nothing to do with these football players. It's everything to do with college football nowadays. If you don't win your job in spring, you probably need to look. I'm not saying go. I'm just saying you need to look. If you're a 3rd stringer, 4th stringer at a position like defensive tackle, 5th stringer at the end of the spring, into your 2nd spring, into your 3rd spring, you just need to go. You just need to go on, hit that portal, and see what's happening. But yeah, them big boys got a lot to prove. Which brings us to our corner position battle. Man, my money is on Daylen Everette to start opposite of Kamari Lassiter. The spring will probably look like that to start. It'll be 3 and 6, and then they will see what's happening after that. But some names that I fully expect to give him a run for his money, that being Daylen Everette. I would rank them in this order currently based off conversations that I had about an hour before this show. I'll go Daylen Everette opposite of Kamari Lassiter right now. And then 1B, I would probably go Nyland Green. And then 1C, I would probably go Julian Humphrey. And then 1D, I would probably go AJ Harris in that order. And what they look like at the end of the spring, I don't know. But those are some really, really, really good football players playing corner. And that's going to be a war. So there you go. That's kind of the intel on spring practice, live and in the flesh right here on the Film Guy Network. Appreciate you for being here tonight. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out. If you missed any portion of tonight's show, we are available via a podcast. Just search the Film Guy Network. However, wherever you find your podcast, I love you. I will be back Thursday evening with a little bit of NBR and some Q&A. So you guys get to get involved. And if you want us to do some type of actual like call-ins, we can tweet out the link, do a little Zoom. Shouts out to the Le Batard Show. Love you guys. See you next time.